Let's start with Tanzania. The market up 9.3%, mainly at the back of banking stocks.
Yeah, look, what we've seen in the banking stocks is renewed foreign interest. Obviously, this year, a lot of foreigners were interested in the listing of TBL.
Yes.
As you well know, it's well covered that TBL has obviously reached its foreign ownership limit. So, you know, if foreigners are looking to buy into the whole Tanzania idea, you know, they'll be looking to come into banks because they can't actually source the stock unless they're able to buy from foreigners. So a lot of renewed foreign interest in the likes of CRDB and NMB. CRDB rallied about 4.5%, NMB just over %. So yeah, performed relatively well.
And then the second best performing is Nigeria.
Yeah, look, on very, very depressed volumes, unfortunately. Yes. What we saw is that a lot of foreigners were absent from the market. Hence, you're seeing volumes of 8 million, 9 million. I mean, battling to crack above 10 million, which is quite depressing, unfortunately. But, you know, so it should be taken with a pinch of salt, the fact that it rallied. But, yeah, it is what it is.
You think foreigners are sitting on their hands?
Yeah, look, I mean, Africa is such a small percentage for some of these large portfolio managers' funds, you know.
Right.
So they just want to kind of see Europe get itself sorted out. Last week we had a bit of trouble with the banking downgrades in the States and global banking stocks, the top 50 banks, you know. So I think everyone's just kind of digesting the news and see where we go from there. Focus on Europe and then take a look at Africa.
And just very quickly, Aliko Dangote finally cleared to chair the NSE board. Any likely impact of that?
Look, I mean, it's difficult how to perceive that. Could there be a bit of a conflict of interest there? Maybe. I mean,
exactly,
Aliko
because it's got three companies listed there.
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest company there, Dangote Cement, you know, about 25% of the market cap, it comes from Dangote Cement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, I mean, he has vowed to restore some investor confidence in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So we'll see how it goes.
Kenya is the third best performing, also thin volumes?
Very, very thin volumes. We saw okayish volumes, an uptick from the previous week, mostly driven by local institutions. The foreigners that did participate in the market kind of just looked to get stuck into East African breweries. That accounted for about 27% of total market volume across the week last week.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think foreigners were kind of being select in their names last week.
Moving on to Egypt, because one of the biggest losers, they're down 8.63%.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of confusion as to when the new president was going to be announced. I think there was a lot of anxiety there. Locals didn't know what was going on. So we finally got some clarity over the weekend, which is a good sign that Morsi is now the president-elect, got over 13 million votes. So it seemed well perceived. Market rallied about 3.5% yesterday. When I looked at it today, just before leaving the office, it was up over 6%. So performing relatively well there. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, do you think you can keep up that rally for the rest of the week?
Most probably, you know, markets tend to behave irrationally at the best of times. I mean, it's come under the whip quite severely over the last couple of weeks. So we might see the recovery rally continue throughout the week. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, yeah.
All right, the other biggest loser is Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Zimbabwe, look, I mean, it struggled a bit last week, namely because of two stocks. CBZ came under a bit of pressure, but, you know, the way we perceive it, there's no stock-specific news out, really. We saw the name rally quite hard over the last 2 or 3 weeks. It just can be perceived as a bit of profit-taking. ICO, last week the government announced that they are going to be setting a price for cotton because there's been a dispute between cotton growers and actual producers of the product. So they're setting a price, name kind of a bit of pressure.
And inflation down to 4.02%, one of the lowest in Southern Africa.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's because of the dollarization, I think, and it's also, you know, was coming off a very high base from years past. So they're once again taken with a pinch of salt, I think.
Let's talk about Zambia, which is the other one, down 0.80%.
Yeah, look, Zambia, you know, that's very thin volumes last week. We were involved there last week. I mean, there were a couple of crosses that went through, foreigners were involved, so that was good to see.
Right.
Driven lower mainly by Zambia Sugar. It's one of the biggest names in the market, so there also, I think, a bit of profit-taking in it. Pomotsi released full-year results, which saw EPS increase to 43.3 kwacha. We also had Zambia release half-year results, which, you know, came under a bit of pressure. That is because of the tax liability that was imposed by the ZRA. So, yeah, look, I mean, a couple of news stories out of Zambia, but, I mean, performance okay. Not too bad.
And then finishing off with Mozambique, down 0.5 percentage point.
Mauritius, you mean?
So Mauritius, yeah. I'm sorry, yes, Mauritius.
No, Mauritius, yeah. Look, I mean, that was mainly driven down by the hotel stocks, namely NMH and Lux Resorts there. We've seen very, very suppressed levels in those two names. I mean, trading at levels that they haven't seen since February 2009. So, and I think that's just kind of going on from what we've seen, how Mauritius has come under pressure with its main trading partner of Europe being so unstable of late. But interesting to see that the banking stocks ended the week relatively flat. So a bit of a mixed picture, but been dragged down by the hotel stocks. Yeah.
And tourist arrivals increased in May. You and I are the only people who are not on holiday.
Yeah, look, some of us have to make money for the economy. Yes. Yeah. No, that's good to see that some guys are at least going. I don't think it's mainly from the European partners, but
yes.
Yeah, so tourist numbers, so some positive signs in the economy there.
What are your projections for this week, finally?
Well, look, once again, as we continue and we go on about it the whole time, it all depends what's going to happen in a developed world. If we see Europe start to perform quite decently, I think that we'll see a push through in Africa, but that'll only follow through in Africa a bit later in the week. So I think we can continue to see low, thin volumes in the market. It'll be interesting to see what impact Egypt has on the rest of Africa.
Sure.
I think it can only be a positive that we have some clarity as to what's going on in their government now. So, yeah, I expect to see thin volumes and maybe a bit of positivity return later on in the week.
All right, Neil, our thanks to you.
Thank you.
Neil Barnard, trader at Securities Africa.